Overfishing could be defined as catching too many fish from one population, who is therefore unable to replace themselves naturally on an annual basis. They are being taken far quicker than they are able to reproduce, which means they are reproducing at much younger ages, thus also affecting the size of the fish, as they are being trawled at a younger age and not being given the chance to mature properly. The South Atlantic red snapper is a good example of this, as since 1960s they have not been able to age to their nominated lifespan, and they are also growing to be lighter and are now producing less spawn. Alongside of overfishing comes the issue of bycatch, which is the trawling of fish that have no commercial value. This may include sharks, whales, dolphins, seals, turtles, albatrosses, and also juveniles of marketable species. The overfishing of particular species does not just damage the population of that fish alone. It can have serious effects further up on the food chain. Marine creatures may depend on certain kinds of environments and nutrients in order for them to thrive. Overfishing can disrupt the food chain, as every animal and plant have their own roles to play within the ecosystem, which is where overfishing can have negative effects on the biodiversity of the ocean. Certain species rely on other species as their prey. However, if these species are not readily available, then the others tend to decline. As large fish populations collapse, fleets are delving into the ocean deeper and much farther down to produce viable catches of the food chain. This action is known as fishing down, which in turn is upsetting the delicate balance of the ocean's biological system and becomes a chain reaction. In 2006, a study of catch data was published in the journal Science. It predicted that if the rate of trawling continues at the rate that it is, then the world's fishing industry will collapse by the year 2048. According to scientists, it is possible to restore most fish populations with better law enforcement, aggressive management of fisheries, and increasing use of aquaculture. The world as a whole does not have one specific jurisdiction that is used globally when it comes to how much fishing trawlers are allowed to collect, also what fishermen are to do with their waste. There are 8 different jurisdictions that are involved in fishing management just within Australia, who are not all equal when it comes to the sustainability of our fisheries. Each state and territory in Australia have rights over their section of ocean from the coastline out to 3 nautical miles, within Australia as a whole having rights to all waters from 3 nautical miles right out to 12 nautical miles. There are, however, multiple organisations that are working towards helping our oceans and trying to save the wildlife as well as the habitat. They include people like Greenpeace, the Australian Marine Conservation Society, and also the Worldwide Fund for Nature, also known as the WWF, each working to raise awareness to consumers, governments and fisheries. They play a big part in the attempt to provide sustainable fishing, not just within Australian waters, but also worldwide. The WWF work alongside retailers to help them source stock from fisheries that are MSC certified. The Australian Marine Conservation Society work to create large marine national parks, make sustainable fisheries and recover and protect ocean wildlife that is being threatened. And Greenpeace, who are working to expose pirate fishermen who practice destructive fishing, killing tons of marine life. They also work in ensuring that leaders work towards banning illegal, unsustainable and destructive fishing practices. Also in their workings, they expose brands and retailers who sell seafood that is from unsustainable sources, so that consumers are more aware of what they are purchasing. In 2009, the world was supplied with approximately 145 million tonnes of produce from fisheries for consumption, providing the world with 16% of animal protein intake. If this does not slow down, then we will run out of this supply and potentially destroy our great oceans. Buyers need to be more aware of what they are sourcing, and consumers need to be more particular as to the products they are purchasing off the shelf and in making sure that what they are buying has come from sustainable fisheries by reading the labels and purchasing from reputable businesses. Otherwise, our future generations will have nothing left.
Created using Powtoon.